Hello YouTube, this is The Bucket coming at you today with one of my new prizes that I got at the gun show. It's a Smith Wesson 910. These are real similar to the Smith Wesson 915. I'll talk about the 915, I'll talk about the 910, and I'll talk to you about why you should be excited every single time you see one of these on a table at a gun show. So let's first and foremost, let's talk about the specs of this gun. So this is a Smith Wesson model 910. The overall specs on this gun is it comes with either 10 plus 1 round capacity or 15 plus 1 round capacity. The overall length is going to be 7.4 inches. The barrel length is going to be 4 inches. The overall width is going to be 1.4 inches. The overall height is going to be 5.4 inches. And the weight is going to come in at 2 pounds and 2.14 pounds. These guns they first came out in 1992 and they ceased production in 2006. Now, I'm giving you the whole specs of the 915 and the 910. So the 915s came out in 92 and the last of the productions of the 910s were in 2006. You'll see that this is a Smith & Wesson, obviously. It's going to come with a aluminum alloy frame with a steel slide, steel barrel. It is a double action, single action with a decocker safety, and they do have a magazine disconnect safety on these particular guns, which I know a lot of people aren't super excited about, but that is what it is. So back in 1992, they had a lot of luck with their third variant of pistols, the 5904 and the 5906. I'm going to call them 5906s just because, those are the ones I'm used to. They realized that there was a section of the market that they weren't getting to, and they wanted to come up with a value series of guns, and that's where the 915 and the 910 came out with. They first came out with a 915, so really how the nomenclature comes out is it's a 5913, except for that number was already taken. So they just dropped off the 5. So even though it only has 3 digits, it's actually a third variant of Smith & Wesson. And that's kind of one of those classic, well, Smith & Wesson's numbering system is kind of understandable and kind of not. And this one is one of them where it gets kind of confusing. So one of the things that they did is you'll see that they have the all black finish, and you'll see that the quality of the finish of the 915s and the 910s are almost always deteriorated. It's the ugly duckling of the Smith & Wesson world, but it doesn't affect how the gun actually operates. One of the other things that they did is they got rid of the safety decocker on the other side. So if you're a left-handed shooter, probably not the gun for you. But again, it's got a lot of the features that you come to know and love with the 5906. Actually, with it having this omitted, it actually makes it a little bit narrower, a little bit easier for conceal and carry. It does have plastic grips, and it is going to have a 3-dot sight. So let's talk about some other differences between a 915 and a 910. So if you're at the gun show and you see on the table they have 915s and 910s and you don't know which ones to get, the main difference is when the 915 first came out, it was a 15 plus 1 capacity gun. And then after the Gun Control Act, one of the Gun Control Acts, they had to go all to 10 rounds, and hence the name 910. They also decided to do some more cost-cutting measures. So one of the things that they did is they got a plastic rear sight, a plastic magazine catch, and a plastic guide rod to save on some cost. So if you have the option between a 915 or a 910, same cost, I would go with the 915. A little bit of a better deal. It's going to be a little bit more sturdy of a pistol. Also, if you notice on the gun, you're going to see that, let's see if we can get it to come up here. So if you notice, so let me show you a picture. So on a 915, there's going to be 2 barrel lugs. There's the lug into the slide, and then there's also another lug into the barrel, just kind of like a 1911 barrel. Here, I'll show you the picture right now. On the 910, they don't have the barrel lug. It's another way that they could save a little bit of money. So, obviously, if you could get a 915 at a 910 rate, yeah, you'd want a 915. I don't have a problem with a 910 because, let's face it, they're good, solid guns, and a little bit of plastic isn't going to hurt anything. And what makes these guns so nice is way back in the day, when there were so many cop trade-ins, and you get those 5906s for like $350, these 915s and these 910s seemed really, really cheap. It was like, why would anybody want to buy them? And you could get these. They were just giving these things away. But now that all those good metal-framed Smith & Wesson guns are all dried up, these 910s and 915s still kind of have a bad name just because they look so cheap, but they're still really, really good firearms. So you could still get these ridiculously cheap. Sometimes you can get these for $275 to $375 at a gun show, and it's just an absolute amazing quality. And part of it is just a bad name for them back when these 5906s were so cheap, and some of it is because of the finish on the guns. A lot of times they just don't look like they're in that good a shape, even though they're usually really pretty good firearms. So let's talk about disassembly, reassembly, because these can kind of be a pain a little bit when you do that. So first thing that I do is I put on, well, first of all, obviously no mag. You just double check, make sure it's clear. I drop the safety, which drops the hammer. You're going to want that hammer down, and I like to do it from this situation right here. So now you're going to line up in this cut, this section of the magazine catch, magazine release, and then you're going to take your finger on the other side, push in on this, and you're going to have that come right out. So I'm going to line it up. Unfortunately, you can't see it. Super, super easy. So you want to line up to right about there. At that point, you're going to hold on to the gun, and you're going to take right here, and you're going to push on that. Again, this is plastic, so it's not too hard. It'll come out to be like right there, and then you can pull this out. They kind of stick a little bit, which is okay. As it comes out, the hammer is going to drop, which is okay. Then you're going to put it back on. Okay, there we go. It's like that. You want it to be like that. Then you're going to push back, put the safety off, and then you're just going to slide the gun off right there. You're going to see that you have all aluminum construction. Again, these, you're going to see more wear points on these, again, because of as a cost-cutting measure. The treatment of the gun, the finishing of the gun was not super, super high end. So that's really light, pretty easy going. Then you're going to take out your non-captive recoil. Again, this is plastic on the 910. And then you can come out here and you can see the barrel, and you'll see that there is no lug up here like a 1911 would have, or like the Smith 915s would have. But if you look at the gun, polished feed ramp, good rifling, it's just a well-made pistol because, again, they just wanted to make it a little bit cheaper to get into that market. All right, to reassemble, you just put the barrel back in like you would any other. Then you put on here. It's a little bit more of a pain because it's non-captive, but that's okay. And I really don't like the fact, I really would have liked the fact that they would have put a little notch on there. So it seems like it's going to ping off, but it won't. Just take your time and you're going to be fine. Now, when you assemble the pistol, you're going to have these three levers. One, let's see, get the other one here. Two, and there's a third one right here. You're going to have to, one at a time, put the slide on and push them down. This is where you really want the hammer up, because the third one isn't going to want to go in if the hammer is in the cocked position. So you want this hammer up because there's a magazine disconnect safety. That's why I say go ahead and put the safety on beforehand, because then when you disassemble the pistol, it will have the hammer down. You can put the slide back on, put the magazine in, and then drop the hammer that way, but it's just kind of a pain. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our slide on. You're going to see right here, the first lever, just push down on it, and it'll come in. Then you're going to see, we flip it all around on the other side. Let's see if we can get it to come in on the angle. Just push down on that one, and the second one will come. Now you have this third one, and you have to kind of get your finger in there and push down on it, and then push down, and it'll come right up. It's not that hard, but I promise you the first time that you do it, it's going to feel like it's an impossible thing to do. So the first few times, it's going to take a little getting used to. So when you're right about here, you want to get your slide stop, slide release started. And then it just pushes right in, and then you're ready to go. So you want to check your magazine disconnect safety, make sure it's operating. Then you're going to go ahead, put in your mag, put on your safety, make sure that that is dead. Then you're going to go back up here, double check, make sure no magic bullets snuck in there, and then you can go ahead and check it. As far as the overall shooting impressions of this gun, it's a natural pointer, fits great in the hand, just like a 59 series does. You're going to see that as far as the trigger pull, that double action is an additional safety, so it's going to be long. It's going to I wouldn't say it as much as it stacks, but it's long, it's going to be heavy, you're going to have to get used to it. But one of the really great things about this gun is it's an absolutely crazy short reset trigger, and then the single action is just really, really nice. And so, I mean, for me, if you are a person that you've always done striker fired, you want a double action, single action, but you don't have tons and tons of money, these are just awesome. Whenever I'm at a gun show and I see these on a table, I just get super excited because I know there's going to be a great deal. And if I can get past the ugly duckling nature of them, they're just awesome. I have no problems whatsoever with the 910. I know it's got a plastic rear sight, but all Glocks start off with plastic rear sights. I know it's got a plastic guide rod, but again, you know, if that really starts to bother me, these guns still have lots of replacement parts out there. And if you're kind of like me and you don't have just tons of money laying around, you know, it's kind of one of those guns that you can get into really cheap. And as you get a little bit of money, replace the rear sight, then replace the guide rod, then replace the magazine release. And you could start off with a 910 with a lot of plastic parts, and you can end up getting into a situation where you can have all the metal parts. Again, the 910s, they get their name because it's 9mm, and when they were originally sold, they had 10-round magazines. If you look at the gun show, almost all of them have 15-round magazines in them at this point. And shortly after the Gun Control Act expired, they still called them 910s, and a lot of them came originally with 15-round mags. This is, again, one of the sleeper best purchases out there. Just keep your eye out on them and just know that they're going to start going up in price. I remember a few years back, the 59 series, the 5904, 5906s were $300 all day long, $350 all day long. And now I was at the gun show and you couldn't find one for under $550. So think about picking up a 910, a 915 while they're still pretty inexpensive. And you're probably going to end up with something you're going to love having in your collection. I do want to thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. All the likes, the comments, the shares are really, really appreciated. And as always, you stay classy, YouTube.
Little middle baby bucket, do you want to live in California?
No!
Why?
Because I'm not a communist.